The wind howled through the empty streets of the small snow-covered town, carrying a bone-chilling cold. In that frigid night, a tiny German shepherd puppy, just a few months old, staggered forward, its trembling little paws leaving faint imprints in the thick layer of snow. Its brown and black fur was matted with dampness, its breath escaping in weak wisps of white vapor, and its large, round brown eyes were wide open, reflecting a mix of fear and determination. Max, the name it would later be given, didn't know where it was, but it knew it had to keep going. Only one thought occupied its mind: to find someone, anyone, to save its mother, Roxy, who lay motionless somewhere in the snow-laden forest behind the town. The wind-swept, snowy path led Max to a faint light emanating from a patrol car parked by the roadside. Officer Sarah Matthews, a woman with neatly tied blonde hair and sharp yet warm eyes, had just stepped out of the vehicle, her thick coat shielding her from the cold. She was finishing a long night shift, her mind weary from hours of patrolling in the relentless storm. But then, a faint sound pierced through the roaring wind, the desperate whimper of Max. Sarah turned around, her gaze locking onto the tiny puppy shivering in the snow. Her heart melted instantly. "Oh my goodness, where did you come from, little one?" she whispered, crouching down, her breath forming clouds in the icy air. She reached out, intending to comfort Max, but the puppy didn't want tenderness at that moment. With trembling legs, it nudged her hand away, then turned to look at her, its eyes pleading as if to say, "Follow me." Sarah frowned, a strange feeling stirring within her. There was something in Max's gaze, an urgency, a silent cry for help, that she couldn't ignore. "All right, little buddy," she said, standing up. "What do you want me to do?" Exhausted though it was, Max began to walk, glancing back to ensure Sarah followed. Confused but compelled, she decided to trust her instincts, and those of the puppy. Max led Sarah through the snow-covered streets, its small body battling the harsh cold. Each step was a struggle, its injured paw oozed blood, leaving small red streaks on the white expanse, yet its resolve never wavered. Sarah followed closely, the flashlight in her hand illuminating the path ahead, her heart pounding with a mix of worry and curiosity. "Where are you taking me, Max?" she muttered, unconsciously naming the puppy without realizing it. The storm seemed to grow fiercer, the wind whipping snow into small whirlwinds, but Max pressed on, undeterred. Finally, they reached an old, deserted alley where the street lights couldn't penetrate. Max stopped, turning his head to look at Sarah, his small body trembling violently. He pointed his nose toward the alley and let out a whimper, a sound filled with pain and urgency that made Sarah's heart clench. "Is something wrong?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Max stepped into the alley, and though Sarah hesitated, she followed. The air in the alley felt heavy, as if it concealed a dark secret. When her flashlight swept across the ground, she froze, a trail of blood stained the snow, leading deep into the darkness. "Oh God!" Sarah muttered, a chill running down her spine, not from the cold, but from a foreboding sense of dread. Max turned back, his eyes wide with fear, emitting a low, insistent whimper as if urging her to hurry. Sarah took a deep breath and followed the puppy into the shadowy alley. The wind howled through the weathered walls, carrying a sound like mournful cries. The alley opened into a small clearing near the forest, where tall pine trees stood silently like phantoms in the dim twilight. Thick snow fell, obscuring her vision, but Max suddenly halted, and Sarah felt her heart stop as she saw what he wanted her to find. Lying amidst the snow was an adult German shepherd, its brown and black fur matted with snow and blood, its body motionless. Its breathing was faint, releasing thin wisps of vapor, but its eyes remained slightly open, glimmering with a fragile will to survive. Blood pooled around its injured paw, telling a heartbreaking story, perhaps an accident, a fight for survival, or something even worse. "Roxy," Sarah whispered, though she didn't know the dog's name. She knelt beside it, her trembling hand touching its cold fur. Roxy slowly lifted her head, her weary eyes meeting Sarah's, radiating pain but also a faint spark of hope. Max approached, his tiny frame shaking as he gently nuzzled his mother, as if to say, "Mom, I've found someone to help us." Roxy let out a soft whimper, not shying away from Sarah's touch. Max pressed himself against Sarah, his eyes never leaving his mother, seeking comfort in her presence. "Sure, it's okay," Sarah whispered, brushing snow from Roxy's fur, her voice choked with emotion. "I'll help you both." Her mind raced. The storm was relentless. Roxy had been out here too long. Her paw was severely injured, and her body was so weak it seemed on the verge of collapse. Yet in Roxy's eyes, Sarah saw a fierce will to live, a flame that refused to be extinguished. She gently lifted Roxy, her muscles straining under the weight, while Max led the way back to the patrol car. The storm roared, snow falling thicker, but Sarah refused to let it stop her. "Come on!" she urged herself, each step a battle against the cold and fear. Max moved ahead, his tiny legs limping but relentless, like a small beacon guiding her through the darkness. At last, they reached the car. Sarah opened the back door, placed Roxy on the seat, and scooped Max into her arms. "I won't leave you," she whispered, her eyes blurring with tears. "We'll get through this." Settling into the driver's seat, her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as she drove through the dense snow, the headlights illuminating swirling snowflakes like ghostly figures. Roxy rested in the back, Max curled up beside her, his worried eyes never leaving his mother. Sarah focused on staying alert, the radio in her pocket crackling faintly but the signal weak due to the storm. "Keep going," she muttered, her hands clenched on the wheel as she navigated the icy road. Max whimpered softly, and when Sarah glanced in the rearview mirror, she saw him gazing at Roxy with unconditional love. "It'll be okay, Max," she reassured him, her voice gentle yet firm. "We're almost there." The road was slick, the thick snow obscuring her view, but Sarah didn't give up. After what felt like endless minutes, the lights of the veterinary hospital emerged in the distance, a beacon of hope amid the night. "We made it!" she exclaimed, relief flooding through her. She stopped the car, hurriedly helped Roxy out, Max following close behind, his small body trembling but staying near his mother. Inside the hospital, bright, warm lights welcomed them. The staff sprang into action, their skilled hands quickly assessing Roxy and Max's conditions. "Will she be okay?" Sarah asked, her voice thick with worry and exhaustion. A veterinarian, Linda, with kind eyes, smiled reassuringly. "We'll do everything we can. She's strong, and so is this little guy. You saved them." Sarah exhaled, watching as Roxy was taken to the emergency room, Max pressing close to her side. She knelt down to stroke him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You did so well, Max," she whispered. "Your mom's going to be fine." Max nuzzled her hand, thanking her in his own way. Later, Linda returned with an update. "Roxy's stable. Her paw is broken and infected, but we'll start treatment immediately. Max just needs rest." Sarah nodded, her heart lighter yet still heavy with the weight of their ordeal. She sat in the waiting room, Max curled in her lap, his trusting eyes shining up at her. In that moment, she realized they weren't just animals she'd rescued, they were family. Over the following days, Sarah stayed by their side at the hospital, tracking every step of Roxy and Max's recovery. The storm raged on outside, but inside, hope grew. Though weak, Roxy displayed incredible resilience, while Max brought joy with his youthful energy. One evening, when Roxy suddenly panicked from traumatic memories, Max stood protectively in front of her, barking urgently to summon Sarah. She rushed over, helping Linda calm Roxy, and from then on, her resolve to protect them deepened. When Roxy was strong enough to leave, Sarah made her decision: she would adopt them. On the day they left the hospital, she brought them to her small apartment, where she'd prepared a cozy corner for Roxy and a pile of toys for Max. In the weeks that followed, they healed together. Max thrived in happiness, bounding around the park, while Roxy regained her confidence, her eyes glowing with gratitude whenever she looked at Sarah. One spring afternoon, with the snow melted and sunlight bathing the park, Sarah sat on a bench, Max playing nearby, Roxy resting peacefully at her feet. She smiled, whispering, "We did it." Max leapt into her lap, licking her face, while Roxy lifted her head to nuzzle her hand. They had overcome the darkness, found the light, and now they were an inseparable family. The story of Sarah, Max, and Roxy is more than one of survival. It's a testament to love, loyalty, and the power of hope. From a stormy night, they built a new life, reminding us that even in the darkest hours, love can guide us to a brighter tomorrow.